All right, now there is plenty of soccer action this weekend, and to talk to us about all things soccer, we are joined by SABC Sports senior journalist Velile Mnyandu virtually. He is in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire. A good morning to you, Velile. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Morning, V. Well, as you can see, it's still very early in the morning here.
Yeah. It's also still very early in the morning here in South Africa. Now, Velile, I want us to start with what happened in Abidjan. We saw President Ouattara conferred CAF President Dr. Motsepe. Talk to us about the significance of this award and what it really means for the President of CAF.
Yes, thanks, V. Well, yesterday it was a very important day for African football. Most importantly for South African football, as you understand that President Patrice Motsepe is in his first term. In fact, the last few months of his first term, because his first term is coming to an end next year. And also yesterday he was conferred with the commander of national order, which is the highest honor given to an individual here. In Côte d'Ivoire. You also recall that he was very influential in this country, hosting its second AFCON tournament earlier this year, which was also confirmed yesterday as the most successful AFCON to date. I think they're talking about 2.2 billion people who had views on that match. In terms of the reach that it had, 1.4 billion people watched it all over the world, and even in terms of the revenue streams as well from that tournament. In fact, yesterday also they handed over about 14 million USD, which is around 248 million rands. In fact, that's, you can round up 250 million rands going into the Football Federation here in Côte d'Ivoire as part of the Legacy project. And it's for the first time an amount of, in fact, that kind of money is going into a football federation here in African football for hosting the tournament, something similar to what happened with us after the 2010 World Cup. So I think it was a big moment indeed. Not only it was him who was honored, but also honored was his Secretary General or General Secretary, Veron Mosengo Omba, also getting an officer of the national order. Obviously, this was all coming from the president of the country, Alassane Ouattara, and we were there yesterday when he also had a brief announcement about that with the president of the country.
I love what you're saying, Velile, and just before I run out of time, I just want to chat. You've already mentioned the commercial aspects because we see CAF doing better than it's ever done before under the leadership of Dr. Patrice Motsepe. But I also want to speak about how it seems like as a continent, we all seem to be singing from the same hymn book, and it seems like this is the closest we've ever been to unity when you look at our football in Africa.
No, certainly, and I think what is important, V, is to see African football finally moving into the direction of that we should not always rely on what is coming from other continents, particularly Europe. And one of the things that we were discussing with CAF president yesterday was also why they are pushing ahead with a structure called African Club Association. And we know that the Kaizer Chiefs marketing director, Jessica Mtaung, is also a deputy chair lady in that organization. And as you will also know that we are also here for the post AFCON 2023 coaches symposium, which is looking at the legacy of this tournament, but also more than 50 coaches from all over the continent coaching national teams who are here to review that tournament and also pave the way forward. And you remember, this is just a few days after the conclusion of the match day 1 and match day 2 of the AFCON 2025 qualification process that has just started. But I think indeed we can say that finally African football it seems to be on the right path.
We move from African football and taking a look at South African football. In terms of the fixtures we can look forward to, just a quick one, Velile, I literally have about 30 seconds left, and you can speak over this graphic when we look at the commencement of the Betway Premiership as well, starting this weekend with a lot of teams that will be vying for the title. Let's speak to that and perhaps some of the fixtures that we can look forward to.
Yeah, very interesting, especially the opening game, because Royal AM, there's been a lot of issues around them, especially as you will recall that in the DTC, they've not played the first 2 weekends of the DTC because they cannot make up a squad. So it will be interesting to see how has the first team been affected by all of this, and they're up against a very strong Cape Town City team. And down in Bloemfontein, it's good to see finally Premier Soccer League football back in Bloemfontein. And you have Marumo Gallants, a new team that is seeking to take the place of Bloemfontein Celtic there. The last time I checked, they're up against the mighty Amakhosi Kaizer Chiefs. The last time I checked, just a day ago, I think more than 25,000 tickets had been sold for that game. So it's going to be very interesting there. And obviously, you're talking about Richards Bay and Tears Galaxy. It will be interesting to see also how is that game going to pan out. I'm more interested also in that Premier League game on Sunday of Tottenham and Arsenal. And as a Guna, you'll understand why.
Oh, Velile Mnyandu, thank you so much for your time this morning.